Hello, lone wolves. The most dangerous people in the room aren't the loud ones who confront you directly, they're the silent ones who test you without saying a single word. Have you ever met someone who made you feel like you were under a microscope, even though they barely said anything at all? That's not your anxiety talking. That's probably a Sigma male. And if that's the case, congratulations, you're being tested. Here's the catch. He won't warn you. He won't explain it. And he definitely won't play by the usual social rules. Sigma males don't engage in surface-level games. Instead, they run silent diagnostics on your personality, like a human MRI machine with trust issues. And it gets deeper. According to modern behavioral science, people reveal nearly 80% of their true character not when they know they're being tested, but when they don't. And that is exactly where the Sigma male lives, right inside your blind spots. So while you're out here thinking you're building rapport, he's already 10 moves ahead, quietly assessing you. Are you someone worth keeping close? Or should he disappear without a trace, like he was never there to begin with? And no, there are no multiple choice questions. Just outcomes. Just consequences. Welcome to the silent test every Sigma male puts you through. And spoiler alert, most people fail. Let's find out if you would too. Number 1, the no reaction to your highs test. A Sigma male won't shower you with praise, even when you're crushing it. You could achieve something massive, something that earns applause from everyone else, and he'll barely nod. Not because he's cold. Not because he's unimpressed. But because he's observing what you do when the clapping stops. He's not ignoring your success, he's analyzing your reaction to the lack of external validation. Do you still stand tall, or do you start to shrink? Do you feel pride from within, or do you suddenly crave a hit of approval? That's the test. He wants to know if your confidence is rooted in something solid, or if it falls apart the moment someone important doesn't applaud. You see, Sigma males live outside the social validation loop. They're not addicted to praise, and they have zero interest in handing it out like candy. If you need to be constantly encouraged, validated, or reassured just to stay on track, that's a red flag to him. Because the real question he's asking silently is, can you keep pushing forward, even when no one's clapping? Most people can't. They light up when praised, and fade out just as fast without it. That's exactly what he's trying to uncover. He knows people addicted to approval are easy to control. They bend for flattery, perform for applause, and crumble under indifference. Sigma males want nothing to do with that. They're drawn to people who are internally strong, self-driven, and emotionally self-sufficient. But if you pass the test, if you stay focused, grounded, and even more committed without validation, now you've got his attention. Not because you begged for it, but because you proved you didn't need it. And that's rare. The irony? When you stop craving praise, that's when you earn his respect. Not the kind he says out loud, but the kind that silently shifts how he sees you, trusts you, and whether he allows you into a part of his world almost no one gets to see. And no, you won't get a gold star for passing. Just his quiet loyalty, if you even notice it. Number 2, the intellectual trapdoor test. He's not setting you up to fail. He's setting you up to reveal. When a Sigma male knows more than you on a subject, and believe me, that's often the case, he won't interrupt, correct, or show off. He stays quiet. He listens. He lets you talk. Even if what you're saying is incomplete, flawed, or flat out wrong. He doesn't do it out of politeness. He does it because he's quietly building a trapdoor under your ego, waiting to see how you handle it when it opens. Then comes the pivot. A quiet correction. A single fact that dismantles your argument. A question you suddenly can't answer. Now the real test begins. Do you shrink and get defensive? Do you backpedal and pretend you knew it all along? Do you double down and try to save face? Or, do you drop the ego, laugh at yourself, and say, damn, I didn't know that, tell me more. That's what he's really watching. Not how much you know, but how you behave when you realize you're no longer the smartest person in the room. Because that moment reveals everything. Your character. Your emotional intelligence. Your maturity. Sigma males admire intelligence, but they respect humility. If your confidence is built on shaky knowledge and fragile pride, they'll lose interest immediately. But if you can stay open, curious, and grounded in the face of correction, you earn something rare, his genuine attention. It's not about proving you wrong. It's about seeing whether you need to be right. And that subtle difference tells him everything he needs to know about whether you're worth investing in. Because in the world of a Sigma male, intellect without humility is just arrogance in a suit. And he doesn't keep arrogant people around, not even for entertainment. Number 3, the unearned access test. A Sigma male might hand you something that feels like a gift. His time, his trust, a private insight, maybe even a door into his world, and you'll think you've earned it. But you haven't. Not yet. That's the trick. It's not a reward, it's bait. Silent, strategic bait designed to see what you do with privilege you didn't work for. Most people reveal their true nature the moment they're given access too soon. They get comfortable. They get loud. Some get greedy. They start thinking they're entitled to more, or worse, they stop trying altogether because they believe the work is done. They see it as a shortcut. But the Sigma male sees it as a trap. A mirror. A forecast of who you really are beneath the mask of manners and performance. He might drop a vulnerable truth or show up for you in a big way when you least expect it, and then he disappears. Not to ghost you, but to observe from a distance. Do you appreciate what you were given, or do you start demanding more? Do you protect the access you've been granted, or do you exploit it? Do you stay humble, or start acting like you're part of some inner circle you never actually earned? Sigma males do this because they know the most dangerous people are the ones who hide their entitlement, until opportunity shows up. And nothing exposes that faster than unearned access. How you handle that moment tells him everything, whether you're loyal, strategic, self-aware, or just another opportunist waiting to bleed value and bounce. If you handle it with grace, respect, and zero entitlement, you pass quietly, without fanfare. He'll never say it, but he's already calculated that you're someone he can trust with more. But if you fumble it, if you start treating his world like it owes you something, he won't fight. He won't explain. He'll simply retract what you never truly had in the first place and let the silence speak for him. By the time you realize what happened, he'll already be gone. Access revoked. Door closed. No second round. Number 4, the how you talk about others test. The Sigma male doesn't test your loyalty by asking direct questions. He doesn't need to. Instead, he casually steers the conversation towards someone who isn't present, not someone you love or hate, just a neutral third party. A coworker. A mutual friend. A name dropped in passing. He's not interested in the person you're talking about. He's interested in you, because how you speak about others when they can't defend themselves tells him exactly how you'd speak about him the moment he turns his back. It's a silent X-ray into your character. If your default is to gossip, tear down, mock, or flex superiority, you've already failed. You won't know it, but the Sigma male has already taken a mental step back. To him, it's simple. If you casually betray the dignity of someone who's not even present, then loyalty to anyone is just an illusion. You're not trustworthy, you're just strategic with your targets. And he doesn't keep people like that close. On the flip side, if you speak with respect, even about someone you don't particularly like, he notices. If you choose neutrality over cruelty, or insight over judgment, he sees a level of self-control that most people lack. That tells him you're emotionally disciplined, not reactive, and not driven by the cheap dopamine of social dominance. The Sigma male thrives in solitude because he's learned that most people are walking liabilities. He doesn't fear betrayal, he expects it. That's why this test matters. He's not checking your opinion, he's checking your instincts. And don't mistake his quiet expression for disinterest while you speak. He's listening to everything, every tone, every pause, every smirk. You might think it's just small talk. But to him, it's a high-stakes evaluation, not of your story, but of your soul. Pass, and you gain his silent respect. Fail, and you'll never know the door was shut. You'll just feel the temperature drop. Cold. Permanent. No warning. Number 5, the interrupt my focus at your own risk test. When a Sigma male is focused, he's locked in like a sniper. No noise. No distractions. Just pure, unbroken flow. And when you're around, he doesn't turn that off. In fact, he keeps it on purpose. Not to ignore you, but to see what you do when his attention isn't yours to grab. He'll be mid-task, writing, building, thinking, working, and he'll let that moment stretch. That's the test. He wants to see. Will you respect the silence, the energy, the mental zone he's in, or will you break it with something shallow, just because you need to feel seen? Most people fail without even realizing it. They interrupt for validation. Hey, look at this meme. You seem serious. Are you okay? Let's do something fun. To the Sigma male, that's not cute or innocent, it's threatening. It shows that your need for attention outweighs your respect for purpose. What they see as bonding, he sees as sabotage. Sigma males aren't just protective of their time, they're territorial about their mental space. They view their focus as sacred ground. Anyone who walks into it carelessly is waving a red flag. To him, the people closest to you should either protect your momentum, or get out of the way. If you pass the test, you won't even know you passed. You'll just stay quiet, stay present, maybe even contribute to the energy without demanding anything in return. That kind of respect hits him hard. It tells him you're self-aware. It tells him you're not ruled by impulse. And most importantly, it tells him you're not a distraction. You're an asset. But fail this test, and he doesn't lecture you. He doesn't snap. He just removes you from the equation, quietly and permanently. Not because he hates you, but because he's ruthless about what he lets disrupt his growth. In the Sigma's world, focus isn't negotiable. And anyone who breaks it for something that can wait, usually doesn't get invited back. Number 6, the disagree and say nothing test. A Sigma male can hear you say something he completely disagrees with, and not say a single word. No eye roll. No debate. No, well, actually. Just silence. And that silence isn't passive. It's calculated. It's a test. He's not holding back to be polite, he's watching closely. He wants to see if you notice the absence of agreement, and what that absence does to you. Do you start to squirm, repeat yourself, or over-explain to force a reaction out of him? Do you get defensive? Do you start scanning his face for validation, like it's a mirror? If your energy shifts the moment he doesn't nod along, you've already failed. Because what he's really testing isn't your opinion, it's your emotional stability. Can you hold your ground when no one's backing you up? Can you stay confident without someone co-signing everything you say? Most people can't. They mistake silence for rejection. They start panicking in subtle ways, changing their tone, softening their point, fishing for agreement like it's oxygen. And that's exactly what he's checking for. Are you solid, or do you crumble the second approval disappears? Sigma males aren't drawn to people who always agree with them. They're drawn to people who don't need to be agreed with. People who can be disagreed with, in total silence, and still stay calm, clear, and grounded. That's rare. That's powerful. He doesn't need to win the argument. He doesn't even need to start it. He just needs to watch you lose your grip on your own words the second you feel alone in your opinion. That moment tells him everything he needs to know, about your ego, your self-worth, and whether or not you're emotionally independent. If you pass the test, he won't necessarily tell you. He might even keep disagreeing with you quietly for months. But what will change is his respect, and you'll feel it. Not in what he says, but in how often he starts saying anything at all. Number 7, the scarcity of praise test. A Sigma male doesn't hand out compliments like candy. In fact, you might spend weeks, even months, around him and never hear a single word of praise. Not because he doesn't notice your efforts, but precisely because he does. He's watching what the absence of flattery does to you. Most people rely on compliments like oxygen. They light up when they get them and slowly deflate when they don't. The Sigma knows this. That's why he withholds praise, not to manipulate, but to observe. He wants to see what happens when your efforts go unnoticed. Will you keep performing at your level, or will you start chasing approval like a drug? He's not interested in people who need constant affirmation to function. That kind of dependency is weakness to him. It means your value system isn't internal, it's leased out to whoever's watching. The second someone more validating enters the room, your loyalty is up for grabs. And to him, that's dangerous. So he stays silent on purpose. While you're doing well, achieving, being clever, he says nothing. That's the test. If you start bending your behavior, overcompensating, trying harder just to trigger a reaction, or worse, becoming bitter or insecure, he clocks it immediately. You're not solid. You're performance-based. You're here for applause, not alignment. But if you stay steady, if you continue doing what you do without fishing for praise, if you remain grounded even in the silence, that's when his respect quietly begins to grow. And when the praise finally comes, if it ever does, it's not just a compliment. It's confirmation. A signal that you've passed a test most people never even knew they were taking. When a Sigma male compliments you, it lands like a nuclear weapon. Not loud, but undeniable. Just a few words, often said in passing, but they stay with you for years. Because you know it wasn't flattery. It wasn't habit. It was truth, earned through consistency, self-control, and quiet resilience. And to the Sigma male, that is the real measure of someone's value, not how they shine when praised, but how they glow quietly when no one's looking. Number 8, the how you react to non-interest test. A Sigma male won't fake interest to keep the peace. If you bring up a topic you're passionate about, a show, a trend, an idea, and he's not into it, he won't pretend. He won't nod politely. He won't fake excitement. And he definitely won't say, "That's awesome," just to make you feel good. He'll stay neutral, maybe even visibly indifferent. And right there is the test. He's not trying to offend you. He's studying you. He wants to see how you handle someone not matching your energy. Do you suddenly feel invalidated? Do you try harder to make him care, repeating points and hyping it up like a sales pitch? Do you guilt trip him with, "You never care about what I like"? Or, do you respect that he's allowed to not care, and keep your identity intact anyway? This moment is critical. Because most people link their passions to their self-worth. If someone isn't into what they love, they take it personally. They shrink, argue, or twist themselves into emotional knots trying to convert the other person's opinion. That screams insecurity, and Sigma males catch it instantly. He's testing for emotional self-containment. Can you still enjoy something without external validation? Can you handle someone being close to you and still not sharing your enthusiasm, without needing to drag them into it? If you can, that's rare. That's powerful. That tells him, you're not fragile. You're not performing. You're not addicted to shared excitement. You're actually independent, not just socially, but psychologically. You're not surviving off echo chambers. Sigma males respect that, not because they want you to be cold or detached, but because they want people who can be themselves, even when no one's clapping. People who don't fold when their interests aren't mirrored. People who don't treat every preference as a test of loyalty. If you pass this test, he'll remember it. You won't get a prize, but you'll earn something far more valuable, a deeper level of access to him. Quietly earned. Silently respected. Unshakably real. Number 9, the "do you need a role to play" test. A Sigma male doesn't hand out roles like job titles. He doesn't tell you what you are to him, what space you hold, or how you fit into his life. Not because he's unclear, but because he's watching what you do when you don't have a script to follow. He doesn't say, "You're my best friend," or "You're part of my team." He lets the dynamic be undefined, fluid, real. That's the test. Because most people panic in ambiguity. They need a label to feel secure, a role to perform, an identity to cling to. Without that structure, they start to squirm. If you start asking, "What are we?" or "Where do I stand?" Or if you try to slot yourself into a title, "I'm your right hand. I'm your person. I'm the leader," he doesn't see confidence. He sees insecurity in disguise. Because here's the truth, people who rush to define their role are often more interested in controlling the narrative than understanding the connection. Sigma males operate without rigid blueprints. They treat each relationship like an evolving algorithm, not a contract. They don't label you, not because they don't care, but because they want to see if you care more about connection, or control. Are you here to be something, or to be called something? He notices everything, how quickly you seek validation, how fast you cling to titles, how uncomfortable you get without structure. Because if you need a role to feel stable, he sees you as someone who can be easily manipulated, by praise, by identity, by ego. And those are the very traits he spent his life eliminating from his circle. But if you can exist beside him without demanding definition, if you can show up authentically without a title pinned to your chest, if you can embrace uncertainty without trying to lock it into place, that hits differently. That tells him you're self-rooted, secure, and not using him as a mirror to feel complete. And while he may never call you anything out loud, you'll know exactly what you are to him by what never needs to be said. Number 10, the last-minute withdrawal test. A Sigma male might cancel plans at the last minute. Drop out of something you were both excited for. Disappear from a deep conversation without warning. Not out of rudeness. Not to play games. But to trigger something raw and real in you, your reaction to unpredictability. He's not testing your patience. He's testing your emotional stability. Because how you handle sudden change tells him more than weeks of conversation ever could. Most people live off structure and certainty. The second their expectations are disrupted, their mask slips. They get passive-aggressive. Cold. Petty. They make it about them. "Wow, thanks for wasting my time." Or, "I guess I wasn't important enough." That kind of response screams entitlement, insecurity, and a deep need for control. But Sigma males are allergic to emotional volatility. He knows life is unpredictable. He values people who can flow, not people who fold the second something veers off course. When he withdraws without much explanation, what he's really asking is, can you adjust without falling apart? Because if a minor shift in plans triggers a meltdown, what would a real crisis do? If you respond with calm, even a touch of humor, if you say, "No worries," and mean it, if you adapt without guilt-tripping or fishing for reassurance, you pass. Quietly. And in his mind, your value jumps. Because you've proven you're emotionally self-contained. You're not performing connection. You're living it. But if your tone shifts, if you try to shame him, if your energy goes from warm to cold in seconds, he sees it for what it is, someone who's only steady when the script goes their way. He won't confront you about it. He'll just clock it. Remember it. Adjust accordingly. The people who handle his unpredictability with grace are the ones who stay in his life the longest. Not because they're perfect, but because they're unshakable. And in a world full of emotionally fragile egos, that is priceless to him. Number 11, the "I won't save you from yourself" test. A Sigma male won't stop you from making a small mistake, even when he sees it coming. He won't correct your misstep in real time. He won't rush in with a safety net or offer gentle redirection. He stays silent, watchful, and lets you walk right into it. Not because he doesn't care, but because he wants to see what you do after. Do you take accountability? Do you learn and adjust? Or do you start blaming the room, the timing, the people around you, maybe even him? Most people are addicted to being rescued. They've grown used to someone softening their landings, cleaning up their messes, or validating their excuses. Sigma males don't do that. They're not here to babysit your decisions or hold your hand through every bump in the road. They're here to see who you really are when no one saves you. The mistake he lets you make won't be life-altering. It'll be something small, but revealing. Saying the wrong thing in a group. Misreading a tone. Ignoring subtle context. Missing an unspoken social cue. He notices it all, and he chooses not to interfere. Because he's not interested in whether you succeed in the moment. He's interested in whether you grow afterward. If your first instinct is to lash out, shift blame, get defensive, or pretend it didn't happen, you fail. Not because of the mistake, but because of your relationship to accountability. That tells him you'll likely repeat the same pattern under pressure. And worse, expect someone else to catch the fallout. But if you own it, adapt, maybe even laugh at yourself and move forward better. You just earned quiet points in his book. Because to a Sigma, growth without prompting is one of the rarest forms of intelligence. He's not your mentor. Not your fixer. Not your emotional cushion. He's your mirror. And if you can't handle the reflection, he'll simply fade. No drama. No lecture. Just a calm withdrawal. Because in his world, the people worth keeping don't need saving from themselves. They outgrow their patterns without being told twice. Number 12, the inversion of attention test. A Sigma male knows that attention is currency in a world full of emotional beggars. And while most people dish it out to keep peace or gain favor, he uses it with surgical precision. So when he suddenly withdraws all signs of validation, no compliments, no eye contact, no encouragement, it's not random. It's deliberate. That's the inversion of attention test. You were used to a certain pattern. A nod of respect. A subtle glance of approval. A rare but powerful compliment that lingered in your mind longer than you'd admit. Then, nothing. Cold air where there was once quiet warmth. You start to wonder what changed. That wondering is the test. He's watching to see what happens when your emotional oxygen gets cut off. Do you shrink? Overcompensate? Get louder, funnier, more performative to win it back? Do you guilt trip, retreat, get passive-aggressive, or seek validation elsewhere? This isn't about cruelty. It's about truth. Because most people tie their value to being seen. The moment they're no longer reflected, they dissolve. Their confidence was never real. It was just a reaction to approval. Sigma males can't build with people like that. They can't trust someone who only feels worthy when the spotlight is warm. But if you stay steady, grounded, confident, composed, without the affirmation, he notices. Because that tells him your worth comes from within, not from feedback. It means you're not dependent. And to a Sigma, that kind of self-contained energy is rare and magnetic. What most people don't realize is, attention from a Sigma male is never casual. It's earned. And when it's withdrawn, it's a test of your emotional independence. Pass it, and when he gives it back, if he gives it back, it carries more weight than 1,000 shallow compliments. Because now he knows your value isn't conditional. It's not performative. It's not needy. It's undeniably yours. Final thoughts. In a world where people crave labels, clarity, and instant connection, Sigma males do something radically different. They test, in silence. No confrontations. No warnings. No dramatic ultimatums. Just quiet shifts. Subtle withdrawals. Precise observations. Every interaction becomes a mirror. Every moment, a filter. And you won't even know you're being measured. Until the distance becomes permanent. These aren't mind games. They're not manipulation. They're not emotional stunts. They are the only defense mechanisms a Sigma has. In a society overflowing with noise, projection, and performance. He doesn't care how charming you are when the cameras are on. He wants to know who you are when no one's clapping. The praise disappears. He disagrees. You're unsure where you stand. Each silent test, a cancelled plan, a withheld compliment, a quiet disagreement, a mysterious pause, is designed to expose one thing. Are you real? Are you grounded without guidance? Stable without flattery? Curious without being invasive? Do you hold your shape without approval? Or do you bend for attention and fold under unpredictability? Because to a Sigma, the real currency in any relationship isn't closeness. It's clarity. And clarity only reveals itself under pressure. Under silence. Under a delayed compliment. Under a withdrawn gaze. Under the kind of stillness that makes most people unravel. If you pass his tests, you won't get a trophy. You won't even get an announcement. What you will get is access. Deeper conversations. A consistent presence. A stability that isn't loud, but undeniable. Not because you chased it, but because you proved you didn't have to. And if you fail? He won't shame you. He won't argue or explain. He'll simply vanish into the shadows he came from. Disappointed, but not surprised. Not because you made a mistake, but because you couldn't handle being seen without a script. At the end of the day, the tests every Sigma male puts you through are simple, but unforgiving. They don't check how impressive you can be. They reveal who you already are. And that's the real reason most people never even realize they were being tested, until they're no longer being noticed. If you've made it this far, you're not just a passive listener. You're the kind of mind that seeks depth, not noise. And that's exactly who we create this content for. So if this hit different, if you saw the layers beneath the silence, and recognized the hidden tests most never notice, don't just scroll away. Show some love. Hit that like button. Drop a comment below and tell us which of these silent tests you've experienced, or maybe even unknowingly used. And if you want more brutally honest, no-fluff insights about Sigma dynamics, power psychology, and the truths most people are too afraid to say out loud, subscribe. Turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming next. Because trust me, it only gets deeper from here. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who keeps failing invisible tests and wondering why the real ones keep walking away, share this with them. Silently. Just like a Sigma would. Until next time, stay sharp, stay grounded, and never stop seeing what others miss.